Hello, viewers and learners from whichever point you are watching this lesson. Now, today we are going to delve deep into the completing square method of solving quadratic equations. We've looked at factorization method. We've also looked at perfect squares. Now we are going to look at another method that can be used to solve quadratic equation, and this method is known as the completing square method. Now, how does this completing square method work out? Now, if you are given any quadratic equation like ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is a constant, and all of it must equal to a 0. So if you have anything on the right hand side, it should come to the left hand side, and right hand side should be 0. Now, the completing square method will hold, or it will only apply if and only if the coefficient of x squared, that is the value of a, is 1. When it is not 1, the completing square method cannot be used. So if it is 2, 3 and above, you have to divide both sides by that value for you to get the value of a as 1. So when the value of a is 1, we can now do a sum of completing square method. So we look at it in form of a question. Solve for the value of x in the first question. X squared plus 4x minus 12 equals to 0. Now on the right hand side you have 0. On the left hand side now we can analyze and see that the coefficient of x squared, that is the value of a, is 1. So when the value of a is 1, we can go directly to completing the square method. So it means the value of a is 1, so we are going to add 12 both sides, or just carry the 12 and take it to the right hand side. So you'll, after carrying to the right hand side, you'll complete the square. So you're going to have x squared plus 4x plus a dash equals to 12 plus another dash. Now we are going to see what are we going to fill into these dashes. That is what we're going to call completing square method. Now what goes into the dash is you take the coefficient of x, that is the value of b, you divide with the 2, then you square. So the value of b here is 4, divided by 2, then you square, and this one should give us 4. So you're going to complete the square on the left hand side by putting a 4, also on the right hand side by putting a 4, and at long last you are going to end up with x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals to 16. Now we need to go ahead and factorize the left hand side. Now one thing you should realize about completing square method is that on the left hand side you have a perfect square. Mark you, we said a perfect square is that square which can factor itself into 2 equal parts. So a quickest way of doing factorization of perfect square in completing square method, that is on the left hand side, is that for the x squared, take the value of x, then for the value of b, take a half of it. For the x squared, take only one x, then for the value of b, take a half of it. So you have x plus 2, then you square it. So those are the 2 equal parts that will come out if you have to solve this equation by factorization. And this one should equal to what is on the right hand side, and that is 16. Now, at this particular juncture, you have to find the square root both sides. And finding the square root both sides, you will put it like that. Then x plus 2 squared, square root of it, the square cancels with the square root to have x plus 2. Then the square root of 16 is either plus or minus 4. So we are going to handle this one when the square root of 16 is 4 and when the square root of 16 is negative 4. So when the square root of 16 is 4, it means that x equals to 4 minus 2. So the value of x equals to 2. And when the square root of 16 is negative 4, then it means that x equals negative 4 minus 2, which gives us the value of x equals 2. -6. So you can see how completing square method has been used to give us the values of x in this quadratic equation. Factorization method will still give you the same answer if you use it. Now let us look at a second question that requires us also to solve for the value of x, and that is in the equation x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals to 0. Right hand side had 0. Left hand side, it is also a quadratic equation where the value of a equals to 1. So we are going to subtract 1 from both sides. We take the constant to the other side and complete the square. So we are going to have x squared plus 5x plus a dash equals to, when 1 is subtracted to the other end, it becomes -1 plus a dash. What we fill in these dashes is what we are now doing completing square method. So it is the value of b divided by 2, then you square. So here the value of b is 5 divided by 2, then you square, and this one gives us 25/4. So we are going to complete the square on the left hand side by putting 25/4. Also on the right hand side by putting 25/4. So at long last you will end up with x squared plus 5x plus 25/4 equals to, so -1 plus 25/4 gives us 21/4. So after that we factorize the left hand side. Remember I said for the left hand side it is a perfect square, so it's supposed to factorize itself into 2 equal parts. So for x squared, take the value, one of it, x. Then for 5, that is the coefficient of b, take a half of it. So it means you are going to have x plus 5/2, that is a half of it, then you square, should give us what is on the right hand side, that is 21/4. At this particular juncture, we'll find the square root on both sides. When you find the square root on both sides, it means you'll end up with x plus 5/2 squared, square root of it, equals to the square root of 21/4. So this one gives us x plus 5/2, which equals to the square root of 21 is 4.583 divided by the square root of 4, which is 2. So the square root can either be plus or minus. So there are two values of x here. The first value is when the square root of 21/4 is positive, and the second one is when the square root of 21/4 is negative. So what about when it is positive? When it is positive, then x equals to 4.583/2 minus 5/2, which gives the value of x as -0.2085, that is to 4 decimal places. Now when it is negative, it means that x equals -4.583/2 minus 5/2, which gives us -4.792, that is to 3 decimal places. So we've used completing square method to solve a quadratic equation. We go ahead and look at another example of solving quadratic equation using completing square method. So we have an equation 4x squared plus 12x minus 9 equals to 0. Now in this particular equation, we can see that the value of a, or the coefficient of x squared, is not 1. So since the coefficient of x squared is not 1, completing square method cannot be used directly, unless now we divide both sides by 4. So you divide through by 4. So when you divide through by 4, then you have x squared plus 3x minus 9/4 equals to 0. Now the value of a is 1, so completing square method can be used now. So what we do next is we add 9/4 both sides and complete the square. So when you add 9/4 both sides, or you take 9/4 to the other side, you're going to have x squared plus 3x plus a dash equals to 9/4 plus a dash. This dash, I've said, we are going to fill in the value of b, that is the coefficient of x over 2 squared. So you're going to have 3/2 then squared, and this one gives us 9/4. So since it gives us 9/4, we complete on the left hand side now 9/4, also on the right hand side 9/4. And this one ends up with x squared plus 3x plus 9 over 4 equals to 18 over 4. Now, factorize the left-hand side. In factorizing the left-hand side, as I will continue to say this, for x squared, take x. Then for b, take half of it. Half of it is 3 over 2. So you'll end up with x plus 3 over 2, then you square, because it is a perfect square. And this one should equal to 18 over 4. Find the square root of both sides, and you end up with x plus 3 over 2 equals to square root of 18 is 4.2426. So it is a plus or a minus over 2. Now, it means you have two values of x here. So the first value we do it when the square root is positive. So it means x equals to 4.2426 over 2 minus 3 over 2. And this one gives us negative 0.6213. That is the first value of x. Next, do it when it is negative. So it is negative 4.2426 over 2 minus 3 over 2. And this one gives us negative 3.6213. That is correct to 4 decimal places. And those are the values of x using the completing square method. You can do some self-evaluating exercise here. Use completing square method to solve for the value of 2x squared plus 9x plus 9 equals to 0. Then x squared minus 8x minus 30 equals to 0. Mark Q. For you to solve using completing square method, the coefficient of x squared, which is the value of a, must be equal to 1. If not, divide that value through the equation for the coefficient of x squared to be 1. Thank you for watching and learning. You can like and subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube channels, all of them on BC Online Mathematics. Thank you.